remember the writer's strike right now, one of the main concerns they bring up is that if the companies use ChatGPT to replace them, they're going to be out of work, right? So be familiar with what's going on, and it's a constant upgrade. You know, you could do it now not only with text, but with pictures, art, you name it. It's replacing us in as many different places as it can. And, you know, how do we defend ourselves and say, well, you know, ChatGPT doesn't have a soul. And we do. If we can figure out what a soul is, right? So this is interesting, and part of our current dilemma. So when you're writing your work, please feel free to use all the resources that are out there. But remember, the questions are also interesting to you. And you're actually only cheating yourself if you don't deal with the question. It's not cheating me, because my wife will still get paid for it. How that works. And I'm hopeful that I do have an impact on you, because you're our future, right? You can't solve the problems that previous generations have created for you. Fukushima, you know, global warming, plastics. I mean, you name it. There are just tons of gas running out in Alaska. How are we going to heat the homes after 4 or 5 more years? When the gas runs out, where are we going to have heat from? All kinds of interesting problems that I hope you guys will be ready to fix. And I don't think ChatGPT will solve those problems. I think creative people will solve those problems. And how do you get more and more and more creative? By uploading more and more software into your Necktop, right? So, does that sound like fun? Yes? Nobody bored to death yet? Okay. This is funny stuff, by the way, if you get to, because I ran one of the results from the dialectizer in Redneck through, I first grabbed the postmodern essay and ran it through Redneck, and you end up getting really silly stuff. So I have 3 tests, and the dates that they're due are posted in the syllabus so that you can see ahead of time. It can be a little late. My main concern is as long as I have everything by when I have to turn in the grades, because I am honest. Sorry about that, but no corruption here. I was raised Roman Catholic, and I feel guilty about everything, especially when I'm not feeling guilty about anything. It scares me. Why am I not feeling guilty? I know where George Lucas got the idea for Darth Vader. It was Sister Mary Immaculate. That's funny to me, because I remember Sister Mary Immaculate. But, you had to be there. So I had 8 years of Roman Catholic grammar school. Then I had 4 years of Roman Catholic high school with Augustinians. And then I went to Westchester. So, all right. So 3 tests, 1, 2, 3. And the biggest exam, or whatever you want to call it, the term project, is a term paper, or a 3,000-word essay on a philosopher that you get to pick from a list. And if you don't like my list, and I made lists really hard to find, but if you look in this first line, there's the word list. And I have philosophers listed there. And these are, at least at the time that I made this page up, remember I can't edit this anymore, but you can come up with others if you're interested. But these are hopefully living philosophers to, that you could look at to see people that are dealing with the problems that you are facing, we are facing now, right? So that's why I didn't want you to be doing your paper on Plato, even though Plato's significant, of course, or Aristotle or Descartes. I wanted you to look at a contemporary and try to figure out what makes them tick, and do I agree with them? That's part of the paper. Remember, the word count is the same grading mechanism for this. So I go and I see if there's 3,000 words, A for you, and then I read it. Please, by the way, I should always mention this, don't take a paragraph and then duplicate it constantly down the page. Do use new words as you go. That's kind of important. Because otherwise, again, you're cheating yourself. Because you need to practice this kind of thing. You used to say that writing was the main thing that you were going to get out of your college career before you went out into the job market, if you're not already out in the job market. Because that's what most of the college-educated people are going to be doing, is writing. That's why ChatGPT is such an interesting threat, right, to that. So hopefully you'll find some of these folks interesting. Some of them have died. For example, Joseph Ratzinger, Pope Benedict XVI, used to be the Pope's right-hand man, so at the time they called him the Pope's Rottweiler. He was German, and a Rottweiler is considered by many people to be kind of a vicious dog, right? And so he was the Pope's Rottweiler. And then when Pope John Paul II, he loves you, died, he became Pope Benedict, and everyone referred to him as our German Shepherd. So you got a breed change from a vicious dog to a, well, not quite so vicious, kind of Rin-Tin-Tinny. Rin-Tin-Tin? No. Okay. That was a TV show starring a St. Bernard. I mean a German Shepherd. So, have a look at these. See if you find anyone that you recognize or that you're interested in. If you don't, and you have someone that you've already been reading that you think is really, really interesting, like one of the ones is the Canadian philosopher. I can't think of his name right now, but some of you might be familiar with him. He's been involved in a lot of things. Can't think of his name.
Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson, thank you. People like him, and he's certainly one that should be added to the list. Okay. Umberto Eco's dead. Peter Berger died. Foucault, Said, Brian Deloria, C.S. Lewis died the same day that JFK was assassinated. So that's kind of interesting. All these folks are dead, but they were pretty close to contemporary times. Okay. And I will also ask you quiz questions. One quiz question each class. The idea, of course, was that this was kind of a way of taking roll, but at the same time, since I offer you no penalty for not coming to class if there's a good reason for it. It snows here. That will be something we'll all discover pretty soon. I'm expecting to get a lot of snow. I bought a new trowel to help shovel. Could be that. Okay, never use that. I got that right on your head. Never use that joke again from Eddie Izzard. So there will be possible reasons for not showing up. Hopefully, I will always show up because I was raised Roman Catholic. We have to show up. Showing up is like 80% of success or something. Copying that from Woody Allen, but that's another joke. So showing up is important for me. Army was that way too. I was in the Army for 16 years, 9 months, and 3 days. And then they let me retire early because the Russians are our friends. You see it. And my position was a Russian linguist, a Russian translator. I also passed my French and German tests, so I got paid for all three.
Did you go to DLI?
I did. 78, 79. Graduated in September 79. So, and then I went, my first duty station was, oops. Where images? I will ask, what does that look like to you, but please don't say it out loud.
The water tower.
It's a communication site. And I worked in this blue building here on the second floor, actually. Sorry about that. How many folks think that I should have given you a trigger warning before putting that up?
What's in the top tower?
Nothing. Nothing is in the top tower.
Were you ever part of Desert Storm?
I was not. I was here in Alaska during that, and we were targeted at Korea, so we didn't go.
A bit odd given the fact that you speak, German, French, would have been useful working with the coalition forces.
Could have been. But no, they left. I was in Port Richardson at the time, which is how we got to Alaska.
So we'll see.
Yeah, Viju. I see. So anyway, I was there. By the way, from the Chow Hall here, you could see Poland over there. And so I pointed out, I could see Poland from my house. Okay, nobody gets that anymore because Sarah Palin is no longer big news, right? Yeah. You remember that?
Yes.
Yes? And I met her. She's a nice person. Not particularly brilliant, I don't think. But in any case, she never really said I could see Russia from my house. That was Tina Fey that said that on Saturday Night Live, right? What Sarah said was you could see Russia from Alaska because the two islands, Big and Little Diomede, are only 3 miles apart. And yes, you can see from one to the other. That's what she actually said. That was still actually inappropriate in a response to the question. It was Diane Sawyer that interviewed her? I forget. But in any, who was it?
I was little when she said that.
But in any case, so that's just my first duty station. I went from there to Fort Meade, where we have the NSA. I was there for 4.5 years, and then we came to Fort Richardson, so that's how we got to Alaska. And after Fort Richardson, the Army made me go to Hawaii for 3 years.
Sorry.
The most dangerous thing I ever did while I was in the Army was drive on the Glen Highway in winter.
Yep.
It's pretty precarious, depending on things. Okay, so the quiz question. I'll do a quiz question today. And here's the quiz question. What are the 10 commandments? Now, just in your mind, think, now, how many of you actually had to memorize those when you were kids? Okay, not everyone. And that's usually pretty much the case. Not everyone is familiar with that. But, considering you memorized them then, how many do you remember now?
I've been
I can probably get most of them.
I've been put on the spot. It just went.
4? The average, I've been doing this for years.
I don't think I could say them in order, that's for sure.
I know the first one. It's like,
You know what they're going before me.
Lord God, help my soul. Honor your father and mother. Love your neighbor as yourself. Shall not kill, steal.
Yeah. Covet.
Covet. Do not commit adultery.
No, these are my favorites. These are not the correct ones. These are commandments people have given me that are wrong.